I've been working on this strain since 2019. It's gone through multiple generations. Now we're moving on to F5 generation. In this video, I'll give you a quick background on this strain. We'll do a quick recap on the different generations that it's been through. I'll talk about why I selected these plants for the next generation. We'll talk about the pollination process and what should come from the F5 generation. Okay, so starting with the background of Chilote OG, and I won't get too detailed in this because I've been through it in so many other videos, but ththese plants right here are Chilote OG F4 generation. They're on day 41 of flowering. They've been pollinated, and the seeds on the inside, the offspring, are F5 generation. So that's what I'm working towards. Now, the initial cross is Brisker OG by Square One Genetics. That's a cross of Tahoe OG, it was a cut, and Peanut Butter Breath. That one, as far as what the taste smell profile is very earthy, lemon, pine. As far as effects, we're looking at relaxed, happy, real hungry. As far as the morphology, how it grows very different from the mother plant, which I'll talk about here in a second. But the Brisker OG was real long, stretchy, kind of real finicky when it got towards the end of flowering. And the buds were just so heavy on it that it would kind of flop all over the place. I would often grow that plant with a tomato cage to kind of keep everything kind of in and kind of prevent that floppage from occurring. Now, the mother of the cross is Pakistan Valley. This is a 100% indica plant from the Hindu Kush region, the mountain range there. This is considered a landrace strain, so there's no parents. And I wanted to use that because I really loved the effects that came from it, which is a real narcotic effect. It was real sleepy. It was so good to consume right before going to bed. And I wanted to bring that as well as the fruity sweet profile into this cross. So I figured it'd be the best of both worlds. Let's continue by talking about the different generations. So we started out with the F1 generation, or the initial cross that I had. There was really a lot of, I would say, too much diversity, too much uniformity, of course. There's kind of things all over the place in a sense, but going down to the F2 generation, it brings out the gene pool even more. So you can see even more variation coming from it. And that's exactly what I saw in those two generations. And what I did was selective breeding. I was looking for specific traits in the F1 generation. So I would pheno hunt, find a good male, find a good female, do that cross. Then the offspring was an F2, pheno hunt the males, pheno hunt the females, cross that. Then we go into F3 generation. And during the different generations, you're going to see a different percentage of stability and uniformity. And actually I have a little cheat sheet here. Let me reference this real quick. I certainly don't have everything memorized here. So in the F1 generation, it can look about 80 to 95% uniform. But when you get into the F2 generation, it's highly variable. It could drop to 25 to 50%. Now, when you get into the F3 generation, that's when you start to see that stability and uniformity come out even more. So the F3 to F4 generation, you might see 70 to 90% uniformity. F5 and beyond, you're looking at 85 to 95% uniform, which is approaching a true inbred line status. So that's what I'm trying to get to on this avenue, is really seeing a lot of uniformity. And I am seeing that so far in the F4s, and I should expect to see that in the F5s. So why did I select these plants? And why is there two females here that were pollinated? Well, when I did the pheno hunt and I had help from some locals here that grow, there was definitely more than one keeper pheno. And as you can see here, you've got two different heights on them. You got one, this plant, which is long and stretchy, kind of like that Brisker OG, right? So it brought out that long stretchiness from it. And on the other side, it's more squatty. So we've got one pheno here that really grew up a little bit more vigorously and taller, and the other one that stayed squat, which I thought was the best of both worlds, because we have people who are growing this, and some people are in smaller spaces and they want that squattier stuff. Or we've got people who really want bigger plants. They're looking to kind of maximize yield, maximize their growth space, growing outdoors, looking for massive plants. Well, you've got the best of both worlds in having two different phenos here. So I thought it was good to kind of pollinate both. As far as the male that I selected, incredible male, super, super vigorous. The flower stacking on it was beautiful, dumping pollen like crazy. And there was even a lot of frost or trichome production on the males and a little bit of that purpling coming out as far as color. So I had to select that one when going here from the F4 to the F5. So when it came to the pollination process, that's something I want to go into here in this video because, well, there are a couple different ways to go about it, right? You can do open pollination, which is you just put the male in with the female and kind of let them do their thing. That's kind of what I did, is I had a male in here for most of the time. I actually flipped the females over to flower first, waited about a week, and then put the male over into flower. and put it in the same grow space. Now, what that did was that allowed that male to develop its pollen sacs and open up at about 14 days roughly. And by that time, these two plants were about a week ahead of the male. So once the male started releasing pollen, that week after that, it just more and more pollen sacs opened, more and more pollen started getting released. By day 28, what I did was something I learned from Subcool, rest in peace. He liked to pollinate around day 28. So that's kind of what I've been sticking to. I know there's, I would say controversy, but there's a lot of, some people do it earlier than that. Some people wait later than that. I typically like to do between day 25 and 28 for the full pollination. So I think it was on day 28, if I remember correctly, I took that male and I shook it all into the plant. And I was even cutting off some branches, some of the larger branches, and really getting in there and deep in there because we kind of still have a lot of foliage in there, a lot of leaves in there. I left it in there purposefully, because this isn't a flower run. I don't need to get the light deep down in there to get real good development of buds, of trichomes, so on and so forth. Really just looking for seed production here. So again, I just took that male, shook it in there as best as I could, and then killed off the male entirely. Now here we are on day 41, and we're seeing tons and tons of seed production throughout all of the buds from top to bottom. So we're just in full-blown mode where we're just trying to keep this plant healthy at this point. We're looking for healthy seed development and a good yield of seed compared to developed versus underdeveloped. Right? If I were to just run these plants up until its normal flower harvest window, which some breeders do, and you can get some good seeds, other breeders opt to go a little bit longer than the normal harvest window in order to try to get more of those seeds to be developed. And that's typically what I like to do. So the normal window for Chiloto G is between 56 and 62 days. That's if you're doing a flower run. I'll probably run it at least a week, if not 2 weeks beyond that. And I don't care if these plants are deteriorating or anything like that. What I'll do is seeds will start to kind of drop, and I'll get a feeling for when I'm just going to cut off the plant entirely. And then from there, I'll let the plants completely dry out. I'll crumble everything up, sort the seeds, and then we should be good to go from there. So in regards to what I think I'm going to get out of this going into the F5 generation, what's going to come out of the F5 generation, well, I'm expecting the morphology of the plant structure to be kind of similar depending on if this plant, the offspring on this, I'm hoping is going to be kind of taller and more stretchier. The offspring on this, I'm hoping to be is a little bit more squat. The taste, smell profile, it's going to be pretty similar, I feel. With the F4 generation, the fruity sweet did start to come out a little bit more than previous generations, which came from the Pakistan Valley side. And that's one thing I was kind of looking for. So when you have that initial hit, you might get some earth, some pine, a little bit of citrus, and on the back end was a fruity sweet. With this F5 generation, I'm expecting the fruity sweet to still be there and potentially pop out even more because these phenos I selected had that fruity sweet in it. And that's something I really liked. And I think a lot of people that are growing this actually like that little bit on the back end. Adds a little bit of funk to it with the earthiness and such. And as far as the effects on it, I expect them to be the same as they were before, which is very relaxed narcotic effect, but you can actually still function on it, right? You're not like couch locked where you can't really do anything. You can get up, move around, and still go about your day. And you're just happy. You're just happy, you're feeling great, relaxed, chill, and the hungriness always kicks in whenever I consume the Chiloto G, that is for sure. So that's what I'm expecting in the F5 generation. In regards to releases and stuff like that, definitely got to sign up to my email list if you want to be notified of that. Don't rely on social platforms for that to happen. These social platforms get more and more strict. I had Facebook take down a post recently. YouTube's always given strikes. I know Strange Show, his whole channel got deleted recently, so that sucks. I hope he gets that back soon. But email list, I'll definitely have a link in the description section below. I'll put it at the top of the description. In that email list, you will be notified when releases happen. So just want to give you a heads up on that one. Also want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, VivoSun, using their 4x4 Pro Tint Kit. Big shout out to them. They are sponsoring this video and they hook up my viewers with a discount code. You can use code MrGrow15. That works on both their website as well as Amazon. So you can use that promo code to save a few dollars off at checkout. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.